All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of That's Bingo Sports Podcast. My name is Joe Hendry, joined by my co-hosts Kyle Eggers and Jacob Beach. Wild day in sports in the past couple days. Before we get into that, gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
It's been a wild few days. College basketball. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah. Before we talk about anything else, Beach, I noticed that your hair's a little shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you usually wear a hat, man. What's going on there?
Well, I finally paid up on my statement that if the Cowboys beat the Cardinals, if the Cardinals beat the Cowboys in Week 3, that I would shave my head in solidarity with Josh Dobbs. So I'm not completely bald because I still have some self-respect, but I have shaved my head. I do have eyebrows and facial hair, something he does not have.
That he does. Honestly, doesn't look bad, Beach.
It could be worse.
Yeah, it could be. But no, that was
Josh Dobbs, the pastor.
Honestly,
what a time that was.
That was a great text to receive. Just immediate screenshot and sent after the game.
Yeah, I remember sending it, and I was like, I had my button like hovering over the send button, and I was like, this could be a terrible decision. And then I was like, we're not going to beat the Cowboys, and I sent it anyway. And then we beat the Cowboys, and I was like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
we'd love to see that. Love to see that. Appreciate you paying up. Kyle, right now, what? You are an absolute golfing fiend, my friend. We were talking about new clubs last night. Did you end up getting those?
No, I remembered that I don't have a job. So didn't buy the clubs. Would have been a bad look for the boy. I would have been sentenced to laundry and dish duty for the rest of my life. So
that's good. Well, but you did golf today, so at least you got that.
That's a fact.
That's good. A little bit of news before we dive into a good show here for you guys. But Jackson Holliday, the number one prospect in baseball, got called up as of like 10 minutes ago. He's a shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to take this time, though, to remind everybody that his father, Matt Holliday, still hasn't touched home.
Oh, great heavens.
So just going to throw that out there. Make sure that people remember. Okay.
Do we think that golf is more of a sport than baseball? Which is closer?
Yes. I'm significantly more excited about the Masters starting this week than I ever am about Jackson Holliday getting called up.
Yep. Dude, Beach has tickets.
I read this tweet from Jeff Passan that he got called up, and immediately my mind just went to Matt Holliday. Still hasn't touched home. So
I don't even know who that is.
You don't need to know. You just need to know that he hasn't touched home.
That's fair.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about some national championship. That game happened last night. We'll talk about John Calipari as well with some wild move there. Transfer portal kind of kicking off for college basketball, and we'll probably get into some stuff with the NFL drafts. I have some questions for the fellas, so I want to see their opinions on whatnot. But
let's get this money.
You guys ready to dive in?
Let's get it.
All right. Go. The Natty. UConn, back-to-back, first time since Florida in the 2006-07 season. Those are the Joakim Noah years, right?
Corey Brewer.
Joakim Noah and shout out Corey Brewer.
That's wild.
Billy Donovan.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into this, man, like I think I told you guys this last night. I think this UConn team is the highest quality college basketball I've ever watched. Like, this doesn't feel like your typical college team, and that may be an overreaction, but I don't think it is because they are so good. And like watching some replays on some of the plays that they had last night, just like this isn't your average college basketball team. Dan Hurley has this team, had them buzzing, and he has this program cooking for the foreseeable future, I think. So
St. Peter's would have beat this team first round, I fear.
That's crazy. Yeah,
what were you guys' impression of the game, though?
Well, just like you said, Joe, I think UConn had one of the most dominant, March Madness runs of any team ever. They had, I think, the highest point differential. They were, their 12th straight game. They had won by 13 plus points in the tournament, which is just absurd. Yeah, I agree with you that I know they would never beat an NBA team, but it felt like a lot of just like an NBA type of team in the sense that there's just good players everywhere. Yeah. And any one of them can beat you on any given night. And that showed in the tournament where it was just like the guards could get it going. Their bigs could get it going. Their wings got it going. Like they're so good at every position that there's not a spot you can attack them, and it showed over this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, I know you thought the game was boring.
Yeah. It kind of was like it was good. It was very high quality basketball being played, but at no point, even in the first half when UConn was doing their typical first half things and just going into the half pretty much tied, I was just like, there's no way that they lose this game. Like Edey had what, like 40? He had just under 40.
Yep,
And
37.
and they still lost by 15 points. Like it's just when the Naismith Player of the Year. What is he? Is it back to back too? Was he back to back? Is that real?
I don't think he was back to back.
I don't remember.
I don't
think so.
I thought I saw that he was, but either way, when the Naismith Player of the Year goes for 40 in the national championship and you beat a team by 15, it's just like, what are we? Like you were outclassed.
There was just a sense of like inevitableness to this, where it was just oh yeah, UConn's gonna win this game. It was kind of like, especially once they got to the Final Four and you were looking at it and they were, they're matched up against Alabama. It was still just kind of like, yeah, whatever. They're not gonna lose that game, and they're gonna get to the championship game. And it just felt like Purdue didn't match up well, just because while Edey's a great player, it's a case of, yeah, we'll let you get yours, but we're going to contest everything and make it a tough hook shot for you, and then just don't let anybody else do anything. And they have the guards that can shut down the perimeter, and that's what they did. I mean, Fletcher Lawyer didn't score. Braden Smith was, he was obsolete as well. I think the biggest thing is like they weren't even getting like 3-point attempts. Like they were just they couldn't get anything going. Yeah, 7 is just, you're not going to win a college basketball game in this day and shooting 7 threes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
No, 100%. I mean, I had a great time watching it. I thought it was electric, for sure. But yeah, like, I mean, I feel like UConn does this on purpose. Like they just let the teams hang around just long enough to feel like they have a little bit of hope, and then they just crush their dreams in the last 15 minutes of the game.
Did you guys see that stat where they've covered in every game in the tournament the last 2 years? They've covered.
That's crazy.
Really?
Like, I think the stat was, and I could be botching this if you see it, I don't know, but it was like if you took 100 and betted on UConn to cover at the start of last tournament, just tournament games, and rolled it over, you'd have $227,000.
That's wild.
That's unbelievable. I mean, when they're winning by 13 plus points every single game, like that shows you it's like you're covering the spread in the NCAA tournament most times. When you're doing that, the only thing that could come into play is just those first round games where they're 20-point favorites. But yeah, that's an insane stat.
Yeah,
they're dominant. It's like not even fair.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's not much else to say. It's just, I mean, Edey had a great game, and like Beach, I think, like you said, the commentators were saying a lot last night. Like they're gonna let Edey do his thing, but as long as they can just hold everybody else down, they were gonna win by a considerable margin. That's exactly what happened. So
yeah, I saw some cut ups of it today, and like that Klingon for UConn just sat on Edey's left shoulder hook the entire night,
the entire game.
Overplayed it, dared him to reverse pivot. Edey didn't want to do it. The one time he did it, he got a layup and he smoked it.
Yeah,
and it was just like they were just, everything they were shooting was a post hook with Edey, and it was a contested post hook.
Yep.
It's just like there's always that saying like tough twos don't beat you, and that's all Purdue was taking last night was a bunch of tough twos. Yeah. And that just, in this day and age of basketball, it's like there's too many good shooters, there's too many floor spacers in the game for that to work against a team like UConn. Like UConn just has way too many talented players for that to succeed, and that's all it was.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out Edey though. I mean, 37 points. I mean, he shot like 50% total, and like you said, those were tough. They were tough buckets he was getting against Klingon. Played well, but I want to talk a little bit about him though. I want to know you guys' thoughts on his NBA outlook. I know that's a pretty big topic right now. I know even Dan Hurley said if he doesn't succeed in the NBA, there's something wrong with the NBA. So I want to know your guys' thoughts. Like, does Edey have what it takes to carve out a role in the NBA? What do you guys think his outlook is there?
Beach was talking about tough twos, so I was just thinking about the city of San Antonio. Sorry.
Whooping them churros.
Anyways, sorry. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be that good. I don't know if that makes me a casual, but I just don't think that his game is going to translate. I think he's too slow. He is like very built and coordinated for how tall he is. Like it's insane. I just don't think that he's going to be like a franchise cornerstone like this tournament has made him look like he's going to be.
Mhm.
But I could see him being like a solid starting center. Like I hate the comp because it's a lazy comp, but like if you use him like you do a Yao Ming, Fao Ming, and you have you pretty much just have him go paint to paint. He's not going to stretch the floor, but he's insanely large. It's going to be very hard to shoot over. Like he could be like a fringe all star, I think, but I don't think that he's going to be like him, like everyone's saying that he's going to be. Beach, what do you think?
I don't. It's not the same type of player, but I think the NBA already has a guy that's in similar stature and a guy like Rudy Gobert, who's just a big guy that doesn't stretch the floor, who can move and is agile. But the thing that Rudy Gobert has going for him is that he can defend and he can defend the paint really well, and Edey can't. Like he doesn't contest shots at the rim at all. I mean, that's why he doesn't get into foul trouble because he just lets everyone shoot right at the rim. And my thing with him is just like, I get it. He's tall. He's 7'4". But with the NBA game, the way it's going, like all a team is going to do, maybe not necessarily in the regular season because coaches aren't picking apart matchups like that as much. But if they ever got him into like a playoff situation, I just think the team would go small for large stretches of the game and just force him to play on the perimeter and get him in every single pick and roll action. And it'd be barbecue chicken at that point for any of the NBA guards that are going at him. Yeah. And I just think he gets played off the floor if he has to play like heavy minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, I can agree. Like I think you could play him in spot minutes. I think he can be a good backup center. He can be a nice change of pace. Much like there's centers in the NBA still that really aren't a perimeter threat. They just kind of play solid interior defense and can give you some offense on that end. But I mean, those guys are, the 10 to 15 minute per game guys. They're not the, big time, like, starting centers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys want to give a player comp? Joe, I'd be interested to hear if you have a player comp for who you think Edey will be.
I kind of do. Yeah. I mean, there was one that I was thinking about the other day and kind of settled on, like, I feel like, again, no defense. I mean, just straight offensive player my thought was like bigger Enes Kanter. To be honest, like gets like Beach said, gets run off the floor. Probably come playoff time against smaller matchups, things like that. I mean, but has useful minutes to a team, probably as a rotational bench player. But that's probably a high end comp because I mean Kanter had some decent seasons offensively, so I don't really ever think Edey can put up what he did. But I can see that being a possible outcome.
Beach?
I like that. The one that just popped into my head is Hassan Whiteside without the rim protection, basically. Another tall guy that can move up and down the court. He's just like they said last night in the broadcast. Like he plays a lot of the game. Like he's in good shape. Mm-hmm. Can score with a hook shot just like Hassan could. But Hassan was a significantly better at blocking shots at the rim. And I just think Edey's going to struggle with that because he's not really a plus athlete like Hassan was. So I don't know. That's the first one that kind of just popped into my mind right now.
I like that. I have another lazy take that I'm going to get off. And that is going to be Boban Marjanovic.
I love Boban.
Yep.
I love Boban as well. But like the thing with Boban is, dude, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I knew this from 2K. Because I looked it up afterwards, but the dude's an absolute game breaker when he plays. But he plays like 8 minutes a game, 8 or 9 minutes a game. Per 36, he's averaging like, let me Google it. I Googled it earlier. He's averaging 23 points and 15 rebounds per 36 minutes. That's incredible. Yeah. But he can only play 8 minutes a game over 9 years because you can't play defense. Like people either go around him or shoot over him because he can't really contest. And I think that Edey is going to face the same conundrum, exactly what you guys were just talking about. Like, I don't see him. I bet you he gets picked in the second round, honestly. Like, I don't think that he's fooled anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, just to get basketball technical here, like the only way I see him being able to play defense is like in strict drop coverage where he's not playing up to the level of the screen at all.
Mhm.
But I mean, the best way to beat drop coverage is just pick and roll and then having good guards that can shoot in the mid range, which is like 90% of the NBA.
Yeah.
So it's just like one of those things. Like, I think it's just a bad matchup because he can't play at the level of the screen, just like you said, Kyle, because he's going to get beat to the rim.
Yep.
He's not a good shot blocker at the rim, so then he can't even like chase it down from behind or anything like that. And then if you play him off of the level of the screen, he's not necessarily quick or agile enough to step out and contest those mid-range jump shots. And it just causes things to break down defensively. So yeah, just like Boban, like when he is in there, I think he's going to be able to do some good things offensively, but that's probably the extent of how far it goes.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you guys. I think the one thing that Edey will have going for him, though, is like, and I think that's something that's respectable, is like he does work hard. You know, he's worked hard to go over his college career. I think get to the point to where he's at, right? Get to a conditioning standpoint where he can play 32 plus minutes a game. Like, I remember that was one of the biggest knocks with Edey early on in his career, was like, this dude just can't. He doesn't have the conditioning, and he's just big. But I think he became a very skilled big. You know, I think that's a take that people have a lot, is like, he's only good because he's 7'4". It's like, well, yes, that helps, but he's good at what he does down there in the post, right? So yeah. I mean, I think he's going to work hard to make it happen. You know, I think he's got that kind of mindset to hopefully succeed. You know, I'd like to see him get up there and carve out a role. One question with that, I'm just curious with what you guys think. Like, I know Zubac, he's carved out a really good role in the Clippers, right? He's a big guy. Like, what is the difference between a guy like Zubac versus a guy like Edey, where Zubac can play 28 plus minutes a game versus Edey? You guys probably don't see. Is Zubac like that much of a superior defender? Is he just smaller, so he's more limber? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think Zubac is going to be able to play out on those screens if he has to. He can guard a 4 if he has to. I would be terrified more so going to the rim with Zubac there as opposed to Edey. Like, I don't know. I think it's just all on the defensive end.
Yeah, like Zubac, like he's more mobile, and I think that's where his advantage comes defensively. Offensively, that dude can score with either hand. He can get anything he wants inside the lane, and that's something that Edey, like we saw last night, he's not comfortable going to that left hand at all. Like, totally. He'll do it, but it's not something that he has like consistently developed yet. Now, obviously, he could get to the NBA and he's working on that, 24/7, and that becomes something where left, right shoulder, left shoulder, it doesn't matter. Like, he's comfortable going either way, but Zubac has that over him right now, where it's just like he can go either way offensively, and I think that's something Edey's going to have to get to if he wants to really stick around.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just curious to know your guys' thoughts as I grow my knowledge of the NBA game overall. So, anything else from the Natty that you guys? I mean, from Purdue, UConn. Any other thoughts in general on that game? Or
Stephon Castle will be good. Sorry, go ahead, Beach.
Can we put the Natty in a basketball arena? I'm tired of watching them in football stadiums. Like, I'm just so over it. Like, I get it's a money grab and all of that, but like, the sight lines are horrible. People are paying $200 a ticket to sit way up in the nosebleeds where you can barely see an NFL game going on, and now they're trying to look at a basketball court. It's like,
he dropped sight lines on the podcast. Get this man.
I'm just done with it. Put it in an NBA arena every year. There's better options than this, surely.
Yeah. I was thinking about, like, I was cracking up at all the tweets. People were like, that's a foul. And they're like miles away and they can't even see the players going on. I thought those were hilarious. Like, every single one I was cracking up at. But that's a good take, Beach.
Yeah. I just think it would make the quality of the national title games. Like, we've had some great ones, but I think it would enhance some of them, especially the shooting. I think the shooting is the thing that suffers the most when you're playing in an arena that's that big.
Yeah, makes sense. Good stuff. Well, let's move on to the next part of college basketball we have. Kentucky, John Calipari moving over to SEC rival Arkansas. Man, that is wild. I'll say this first. I think obviously Kentucky fans have wanted Calipari out after a rough, what is it, like 4 or 5 years tournament play, getting bounced by Oakland, by St. Peter's, I think last year.
Yep. 2 years ago.
He only won one title, right? He's been to like 4 Final Fours, I think it was. People are saying that he underachieved, all this fun stuff. Obviously, very great career. You can have opinions, but I think it's interesting. Like he could have, I think he could have just left and kind of kept his legacy intact. But I think he took on a new challenge. And Arkansas is they're a good program, but I think it's really interesting that he went to an in-conference team to play Kentucky twice a year again. I think that's super interesting, and I think I am fascinated to see kind of how those games play out and kind of see what he's able to do with Arkansas versus Kentucky. So anyway, let's hear what you guys think about that.
I think the biggest thing that just seems to be the motivation for this move is just the expectations that fans have for college basketball teams in this era now. They're unrealistic every year.
Mm-hmm.
He has like a college coach has to now not only recruit high school, Kentucky expects to get the number 1 recruiting class every year. So not only does John Calipari have to recruit the number 1 class, he also has to try to recruit the kids that he still has on the roster that may or may not have liked their role that they're in, while still trying to maybe get transfer portal guys to boost their roster for the next season. Like college coaches with transfer portal and some of the NIL stuff that's been going on, their jobs have become like increasingly more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's one of those things like national championship expectations every year just burn coaches out. And I think that's where Calipari was at. He's like, I can't like keep doing what we've been doing and win national championships.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the move makes sense for both parties, honestly. I was not expecting Arkansas. I was absolutely terrified because Tommy Lloyd was named as one of the potential replacements, and then it sounds like they're zeroing in on Scott Drew, which, as long as they take that Drew, that's okay with me. If they take Bryce Drew, you will not hear from me.
Yes.
No, I mean, I think it's just fine. Like it is what it is. Like I don't know how this is going to play out, but I think that the NIL budget played a huge part in why he left. What's Arkansas is like $5 million or something. Like,
I think they bumped it. I think he's got like one of his homies who's a huge donor. I think he's going to come with like 6 or 7 million in NIL.
Yeah, like that's that's absurd. He's going to go try to build the Monstars over there, and I hope he does. That'd be cool. But yeah, I just think it makes sense. I think this feels like there was a big rift, and this has kind of been like a little bit coming here for a bit.
Yeah. No, I'm really interested to see the domino effect. Obviously, that'll come of it. Like if they get Bryce Drew, like that leaves a pretty big hole with Baylor, or not Bryce Drew, Scott Drew. And Baylor's a very good program. Like who do they poach? Things like that. So, would your money be on Drew right now? You think?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense, and based on everything that I've seen, pretty much everybody's saying that like everybody has his name in like a potential like top 3, and some are just saying him. So I hope that it's him. I don't want it to be Tommy Lloyd.
I think Scott Drew fits the profile of what Kentucky wants in a head coach, and also what the person has to be the Kentucky head coach. Like you have to be okay being visible. You have to be okay, doing the whole shaking hands and kissing babies. Like everyone's always talking about that. Like they've got to be okay being in the public eye and being scrutinized and praised every single minute that they're in Lexington.
Yeah.
And I think Scott Drew is the type of personality that can handle that and would be just fine with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have a question for you both. If you are Danny Hurley and you get offered that job, do you take it?
No. Stay at UConn. Back to back.
Yeah,
I don't understand how you leave back to back championships.
I think the only way I could is if like I heard Jason Shear talking about this, but like people underestimate how much like a person's wife like will influence this decision.
100%.
So like, unless my wife was just like, yeah, let's go to Kentucky, then it'd be like, I wouldn't leave. It's just one of those things. There's a bunch of pressure. There's a bunch of expectations, and you've already proven you can win at UConn. You can get anybody you want at UConn. It's not like you're upgrading going to Kentucky necessarily.
Yeah,
that's a
I
fact.
think you really only upgrade in name brand, but not actually quality of job. For being honest, but
you wouldn't even upgrade in uniform. I think Dan should stay as well.
That's facts.
I mean, what is UConn? UConn has 3 national titles since Calipari won his last with Kentucky. So
yeah, that's crazy.
That's wild.
Yep.
My sister just texted me. She said she goes out of the blue. She goes, "Do you watch San Diego State basketball? I just took Lamont Butler's grad photos. If you know him."
That's
what?
crazy. What?
Yeah. I was like, "What?"
That's wild.
She's like a San Diego State legend after that shot against FAU. She goes, "Yeah, he's so sweet and humble," and she just like, that's hilarious. So shout out Lamont Butler.
Lamont Butler, welcome to the Hendry family. All right.
Could you imagine?
Joe just became significantly less cool. All right.
Oh, that's facts. Shout out Gabby Hendry photo if you want some. If you live in San Diego area and want some sick photos, she can take them. But one more thought on the John Calipari thing. I think it'd be hilarious. I don't think it'll happen. I think it'd be so funny if Bruce Pearl moves from Auburn to Kentucky. I just think that'd be hilarious. Another like just more movement within the SEC, and just in SEC chaos. I think that'd be great. So
the Harrison twins are coming back and they're going to Arkansas.
Jeez. Get me Perry Ellis down there as well.
Oh my gosh, dude. Last part of college basketball, obviously the transfer portal is opening up. A lot of players are going to be joining there, specifically for the U of A, Umar Ballo and Kylan Boswell, much to Kyle's...
Say it again, Joe.
Kylan Boswell, much to Kyle's excitement. They have both entered the transfer portal. Couple big names there. Obviously, Ballo. What is he? He's going into his senior year, junior year?
He's already passed his senior year. So
okay, so he'd be a 5th year?
Yeah, basically a 5th year.
Yeah. And Boswell going into his 3rd year, still 18 years old, so still very young. Rough end of the games at stretch.
He's 18? I feel so bad. Never mind. I'm sorry. Kylan Boswell. I've been literally calling for lose your scholarship this whole time.
The 180 we did on Kylan Boswell from the beginning of the season
are hilarious.
Let
me pull those up real quick.
He was sick, but now I wish him the best at Bishop Sycamore University.
Let me pull these up real quick, man.
Oh my gosh!
So in November of 2023, I get a text from Beach. Kylan Boswell is so good. In November 2023,
that was the Duke game. That was the Duke game where he had like 12, 10, and 5. Yeah. And I was like, this guy, like, he's here. Like, this is his year.
Yep.
And then that was as good as it got. That was his best game, probably.
I'm scared.
Oh, my gosh. The next one is from Kyle a few days later. I am thankful for Kylan Boswell. I think we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think we are.
Is that when we're playing Michigan State like that day and Kylan did something?
Probably.
Oh my gosh.
Probably. December of 2023, Kylan Boswell has disappeared once again.
Oh no.
From Beach. This is where it begins.
January 2024 from Beach, I want Kylan Boswell shipped to Thailand.
Oh no.
Oh man.
The same day, a few minutes later, Beach says, "Screw Kylan Boswell."
Okay.
A few weeks later, I want Kylan Boswell shipped to Shanghai.
I don't actually want this, just to clarify. I feel so much worse now that I'm hearing this out loud.
Kyle says, if you're Kylan Boswell, you can pick and choose if you're playing basketball or getting cardio in. So
he was just...
I will say this.
Running.
Because Kylan Boswell is a good basketball player.
Yeah,
I think. Okay, well, he's an adequate basketball player. I will say he's a good basketball player and he plays well. At the same time, there is just a lot of things that happened this year that I think led to this ultimate decision of him transferring.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the Pac-12 play where he was just inconsistent, up and down. He'd have one game where he'd have 15 points. He'd hit 3 threes and look really good, and then the next game he'd go out there and he'd have 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, and just like we said, he'd be getting cardio in for 25 minutes. And that was frustrating. And I think as a point guard, you can't have that. The point guard's got to be the engine of the team. That's the consistent one. They might not have the peaks and valleys that some of the other guys can have, but you need them to be consistent. It doesn't have to be a lot of points, but they need to be the engine of the offense. And Kylan just wasn't that. If he disappeared, our offense tanked, and we lost a lot of the. Every game you can point at, Kylan Boswell struggled, Arizona lost pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that played a part into it. He also had some off the court issues. There was the picture of him in Vegas at the blackjack table during the Pac-12 tournament, where we then proceeded to lose to Oregon the next day.
Was he even 18 at the time?
He was 18 at the time, but it's, again, one of those things. Optically, it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're here to play basketball. You're not here to be at the blackjack table, right?
Yep.
And it's just one of those things it's unfortunate. He's a young kid. I hope he takes this experience and he learns and grows from it. But ultimately, Arizona isn't in the position to wait on a guy to grow into the point guard role. They need a guy that can step in and contribute right away. And they have that guy on the roster, and it's Jaden Bradley.
Yeah. To push back a little bit on that page, play some devil's advocate. Isn't that what we said about Kylan Boswell last year?
Yes, we did say the same thing. And that's what I will say. Like, this is the thing that I am concerned with Tommy, is he's kind of loyal to guys to a fault, and then we're like, oh, the next guy will be better, and then they're not. What I think will be different with Jaden Bradley compared to Kylan Boswell and Kirk Risa before is that it's a completely different style of player in the fact that Jaden Bradley wants to attack the rim and get to the foul line.
Mm-hmm.
And neither Kylan or Kirk Risa, neither Kylan or Kirk Risa wanted to do that. They only wanted to shoot threes. They didn't want to get to the lane. They didn't want to get to the rim. It was all about their perimeter jump shot, which is hit or miss. If it's going in, they were great. They were a lot of fun. They were good players, but if their shots weren't going in, they disappeared a lot. And so while I think we felt that Kylan would be different, I think it was just because he felt different than Kirk Risa in a sense when he would come in. It was just a different change of pace. And he couldn't provide that same change of pace in a starting role, which is why I think it's best to turn it over to Jaden Bradley, because he is going to be a different type of player than those two were.
Yeah, that's fair. Kyle, you look like you got something to say.
Yeah, this might be like a overgeneralization, but like I think that like the direction from Kirk Risa to now has gotten like slightly better, and I'm hoping that Bradley will just finally like make sense, because if Kirk Risa was in the game and he was having an off game, he was going to shoot the ball like 15 times still. And like you just can't do that with your point guard. And Kylan, if he was having a bad game, it would just be 4-on-5, which is like, like fine. I'd rather have that than Kirk Risa. And then I'm hoping that Tommy's figured out something and our starting guard can be in control of the game, have a repeatable play style, be able to play defense and offense on a consistent basis. Like, who knows if it'll happen, but I feel like we've just gotten like a little bit better, like maybe baby steps towards real life point guard isms. So who knows? But I just in Tommy we trust until we don't. Yeah. So for now we trust Tom.
Yeah, no, that's all fair. I'll come out in support of Boswell there. Like I think everything you're saying is probably fair and true, and I think a change of scenery is probably best for both parties. At the same time, though, I think it can also be true that like you're now losing someone who's a plus defender, who's a 5-star prospect, who is going into his third year at 19 years old. Like,
that is crazy.
If we look back on it, it's probably a little bit unfair that this dude was supposed to be a freshman having the expectations that he had, right? for this team. So just the whole situation is unfortunate. We hope he matures off the field a little bit, right? We hope his play improves on the field or on the court, wherever he goes. Just I think, probably could be best case scenario for both teams for this to happen. At the same time, I do like Kylan Boswell. I think he's a really good player. Wish him the best wherever he goes. I think the U of A, there will be moments where they will miss him for sure. But you're hoping that a national championship just kind of wipes that away next year. So,
well, I think it depends on who's coming back, right?
That's true. I was going to ask, is Love coming back?
If Caleb Love comes back, which I'm not saying that this move signifies that, but if he does come back, then your starting backcourt was already set regardless if Kylan Boswell left or not, because you were they're starting Jaden Bradley no matter what. Yeah. They were going to start him either with Kylan or instead of Kylan. Like Jaden Bradley was going to be starting. He deserved that. He played more consistent than Kylan pretty much the entire season. And so if Caleb comes back, all of a sudden you're looking at your guard spots being set. But even if he doesn't, you still got a chance where, as long as the rest of the roster stays together, which as of right now it sounds like it will, but as long as everybody else stays together, you've still got a really good team. You bring in a few transfer portal pieces, and this team can make another, hopefully NCAA tournament run in the next season.
Yeah, that makes sense. KJ Lewis, I imagine, probably getting a bigger role as well. On the
That's
perimeter.
My concern. If some NBA team all of a sudden is like, we're going to take you with pick 28, he might bounce.
No?
Yeah.
So he's the next one. Him and Caleb Love, we're looking at their decisions where it's like, all right, KJ, are you going to the draft? Or are you declaring and then coming back? Like, what's your plan there? If he doesn't come back, Arizona is in a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
Obviously they've got some great recruits coming in, but I don't want to say undersized necessarily, but just young recruits aren't the way to win in college basketball anymore, especially with all the COVID years, all the 23-year-olds that are in college basketball right now. Like there's a lot of old men out there, obviously, that are playing in college that just have experience. They have that, competitive edge in that sense over some of the guys that are just coming in.
Yeah. I mean, more developed bodies just in general too. So that always, that's a big, big difference at that time. So you have to find some beef to move around there, losing Balo especially. So.
Yep. Well, that's why we have Krivas.
Yeah. So anything else with college basketball, transfer portal, U of A in general?
I think we're good. Good there.
Cool. Let's move over towards the NFL draft then. Talk a little bit about college football, some interesting things there. You guys know this, I'm super pumped for the NFL draft. But I have a few questions, things like that, and we can get some conversation going off of that. But my first one is I'm a Chargers fan. And I think I know what's best for the team. And I often can let my bias get in the way of this. So my question for you guys, from an outside perspective, I want to know, do you think there is a legitimate chance that they take an offensive tackle at 5?
Yes.
I'm getting Harbaugh, and you think so?
100%. I think there is.
I want to hear your explanations why.
I think there always is a legitimate chance that NFL teams do exactly what you think they're not going to do.
That's fair.
Just because you're not in those rooms and you don't know how they value players and how they grade out in their system compared to what we're viewing as fans, right?
Yeah.
So it could be one of those things like all of a sudden the Chargers, they go through the combine, they go through the pro days, they go through all of that. And all of a sudden they've got Joe Alt as the number 1 graded player on their board. And they're sitting there at 5 and he's still there. Like, I think they'd take him. Now, obviously, I don't know if that will happen. But it's one of those things, like, especially when you're in an opportunity like the Chargers are to pick this high with the type of talent they have, you're looking for the best player available. And if they somehow think that is a tackle, then there's a chance they'll take him.
Yeah, that's fair. Kyle, you're pretty quick.
Yeah, jokes aside, I honestly think this might be the right play for the organization. But I think that there's a couple signs that
right now.
Yeah, he's just literally infuriated. And here's why. Harbaugh is absolutely committed to this brand of power football. You know what I mean? Like he's going to run the ball and he's going to do his thing on defense, but like that's what he does. And the Chargers O-line is like fine, but if I could 100% see Harbaugh being like, okay, we are committing to doing this, blah, 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 and also at the same time, we want to protect Justin Herbert. Yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% see that, Keenan's gone. Like, you have Quentin Johnson, who's not even a real football player. And so Herbert is going to be throwing to himself. But I'm putting myself in Harbaugh's shoes, and I could see him being like, oh, but we want to establish the run first. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it is what it is. Like, maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe QJ was hurt the whole year or something. I don't know. But I could see them doing that, and that is legitimately like I wouldn't hate it if I were you. I know you would, but I wouldn't hate it if I were you. And I'm sure when it happens that you'll convince yourself in your delusion that it wasn't that bad of a move. But Joe, take it away.
No, as I said before, like I trust Harbaugh, I trust Ortiz. Like I'm not whatever they pick, like I'm going to be in full support of, to be honest with you guys, because this is the guy I wanted all along because he knows how to win. Like they could literally take Bo Nix and I'd be like, what the hell? But I trust Harbaugh. Like,
stop it.
Okay, if Bo Nix, you would not be happy about that.
Yeah, JJ McCarthy goes 5. You're going to be happy about that?
Oh no,
not a chance.
I would be pissed off. But again, like as a fan, I'd be pissed off. But like I wanted Harbaugh, so like I want what comes with it. I'm so sick of losing.
You want JJ McCarthy 5.
No, I don't want JJ McCarthy, but I wanted Jim Harbaugh, and like that's
Stetson Bennett again. If they draft a 27-year-old Stetson Bennett, redraft him because he was enlisted in the military, you would burn all of your Chargers memorabilia.
Yeah,
and
look,
renounce.
That was choosing a quarterback was the wrong thing to say. I'm like probably better is if they drafted Ladd McConkey at 5. Like that's probably a better one to say.
About that,
I'd be upset 100%. I'd be upset, but like as a fan, but also understanding that like this dude, like I believe will save the franchise. Like I have put all my chips in on this guy.
Okay.
No, you're an idiot. Jim Harbaugh, you idiot. No.
Ladd McConkey.
So like if they took Joe Alt at 5, like I'd be disappointed, but I would understand the move. I'd understand it. I do, in my opinion, like obviously I want Neighbors. I would take Bowers over Alt. I'd take Odunze over Alt.
Does he play tackle?
What?
Does he play tackle?
Can he get on base?
Can he get on base? 100%.
We'll recreate Neighbors in the aggregate.
Yes. With Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, and Darius Davis.
Okay.
That sounds terrible.
No.
Jim Harbaugh's about to recreate Justin Herbert in the aggregate.
Oh my gosh, you might.
With Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy, they're going to run a 2-quarterback system.
Oh my gosh. No, I would much prefer. It's like I'd be very okay with an offensive lineman at 11. Like if we trade down with Minnesota and take an offensive tackle at 11, and then take Brian Thomas or something like that at 23, like I'd be very much okay with that. I think the thing is missing out on a guy like Neighbors when he's there at 5. That's what would bug me the most, to be honest. Probably similar to you, Beach, with like I want Marv. Trading back would be great, but like I want Marvin Harrison Jr. It's the same concept there. So
yeah,
I just wanted your guys' thoughts on that because obviously I can see things through a very biased and fan lens there. So, but next question, quarterbacks, right? There are rumors of people trading up, things like that. There's polarizing prospects like Bo Nix, like Michael Penix, things like that. I think we expect the first 3 picks to be quarterbacks. I want to know, first off, how many quarterbacks do you think go in the first round? Do you think there's 4, 5, 6? Who goes number 2 at Washington? Is it Jaden Daniels? Is it Drake May? What are you guys' thoughts on that one?
Beach?
I think, gosh, I'd have to look at who the quarterbacks are. I think there's a chance 5 go. I think
I
you're
think
probably looking at Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, some order of the top 3. And then I think JJ McCarthy, his name's been moving up draft boards, so I think he sneaks into the first round. And I think Penix at the back half of round 1 will also sneak in. I think just the arm talent is there, despite him not being necessarily the biggest guy and the injury history. But I still think teams are always quarterback desperate, so somebody will take a chance on him just to take a chance on him.
Yeah. You see, he ran a 4.6.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That
Actually,
was wild.
Yeah, so I think there will be that 5, and then with Washington, man, I don't know. It's kind of a coin flip at this point. If I had to pick right now, I think they'd probably take Jaden Daniels, just because I think he's a more exciting player, and I think that just kind of factors into some of these GMs' minds when they're making picks. They're like, all right, who's going to sell tickets? And Jaden Daniels would sell tickets for that franchise. So, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I think it could be a, pretty considerable chance that it does.
Yeah, that's fair. Kyle, what do you think?
I think 6 quarterbacks go in the first round.
You think
that's
Penix and Knicks go?
That is my bold prediction. I just like looking at the rosters that are picking in the first round and where they're picking. I could see, obviously everybody, the consensus is saying that there's going to be 3 in the top 5 or so, whatever. I think the Vikings need a QB bad. They're going to try to aggressively trade up, and there's teams like the Chargers that are going to try to aggressively trade down. I feel like the Vikings trading up to 5 and taking the best QB available is like almost written already at this point. Could be wrong. But then I also see people in the teens, and I guess not even teens, 12. The Broncos don't have a quarterback. Yeah, like the Broncos don't have a quarterback. The Raiders, I don't know if they're all in on Aiden O'Connell, but like I could see them picking. There's just a lot of teams that are in these slots that are going to need QBs. So that's pretty much like, yeah, I'm saying that 6 go, and that would mean that Bo Nix and Michael Penix both go in the first round. Could be bold, but what I will say is I don't think that this QB class is as good as everybody's saying. Like they're saying that this is going to be one of like the best ever. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be good. I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to be good, and I'm not sold on Penix. So we'll see.
That's interesting. That's super interesting. No, I'm sold on a lot of these quarterbacks for sure. I think it'll be 4. I don't think we get. I think we'll see something similar to. I mean, we always see quarterbacks drop. Lamar several years ago. I mean, last year Will Levis. There was rumors that Levis was going to go at 4, right? Dropped into the second round. I mean, Geno Smith several years ago. I think it's going to happen again. I think there's going to be a lot of different hype from teams trying to, with all their coach speak and everything like that, trying to hype up Knicks, hype up Penix, things like that. I do see a world where Sean Payton just kind of goes rogue and tries to get his guy, but I do think that the rational mind will overcome and say like, hey, we can probably get one of these guys in the second round, or trade back up in the second round to do something like that. So I'm going to say that 4 go inside the top 5. And then we don't see another one until the second round.
Honestly, I don't hate that take.
Yeah. And then I think Drake May goes second to Washington Beach. I think the excitement of Daniels is good, but like I just look at May, and I mean I've loved that guy for a while.
I mean, yeah, you've been touting him as the number 1 quarterback since
and like October. I stand on that. I mean, longer than that, dude. I was actually curious to know like how long I've been doing that. I think it's been like late 2021, early 2022 was the first time that I texted you guys. I'm like, this Drake May guy is him. So I will stand on Drake May as a quarterback 1. That being said, I think him and Caleb are both fantastic quarterbacks, both going to be stars in this league. And I've also bought into. I'm not sold on Daniels. I'm sold on McCarthy. I think he can do what NFL teams want. I think he has what it takes. I think he's going to struggle a little bit early on, but I think if you put him on a team like Minnesota, I think he's gonna be a star much sooner rather than later. I think Kevin O'Connell would be able to coach that dude really well. I think he has everything you want out of a quarterback. So
yeah, I think that's fair. People underestimate how important a situation is for these quarterbacks every single time.
Yeah,
that is a fact.
The situation can make or break the quarterback.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I'm thinking like, let's say Denver trades up somehow and they pick May. Like my Drake May QB1 take is ruined. I think if Denver takes him.
Why? He's learning from Ben DiNucci.
I just think that's just like I think he has a talent to overcome, but like I would be really, really worried about him because I just think that's just a terrible landing spot for him there. So, yeah. But are there any other NFL draft hot takes that you guys have before the draft here in a few weeks?
The Rams are going to take UCLA's edge, Latu. I've been saying it for weeks.
Yeah.
That is all.
Be a great pick.
I think so as well.
Cardinals hosted him on a visit today, I saw. So
are they going to pick him at 4?
He took a selfie.
No, they're going to pick him at 27.
No, he's going at 11 once we trade down with Minnesota.
Oh.
So isn't that projected trade like you get 11 and 23?
I think 11 23. I'm pretty sure though, like I don't think that'd be enough, honestly, to move us off of of 5. So I think we'd probably have to either get a another day 2 pick.
Yeah.
Added in.
I saw it reported today the Cardinals are asking for 3 first-round picks. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah. I don't know how valid that is, but I think it's one of those things like teams know that if you're trading up, you're probably foregoing Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think that's the whole reason why.
Yeah.
Like a lot of teams at that point, if they have their quarterback, like the Chargers and the Cardinals, they're like, yeah, we're going to be fine taking Marvin Harrison Jr. unless you're paying a king's ransom.
Yeah.
Here is my only ask to Sean McVay, who is an avid listener of this podcast. Please trade Tutu Atwell on draft night for draft pick, any of them. We could take pick 256. That's fine. Just get him off my team. That's all.
What happened to the Tutu Atwell I owe you an apology award?
I don't owe him anything anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay. That escalated very quickly.
I don't know. I was going back and I was looking at his season stats and I was like, this guy, I was familiar with your game. You fooled me.
He had those couple games early on, man, without Cup where he put up decent stats. So.
Yeah.
He needs decent weight.
Maybe it's almost like anybody that's in the slot for the Rams is good at football because Sean McVay makes them good at football.
That's a fact. You're telling me DeMarcus Robinson's a good football player? No.
All I'm hearing is
Cooper Kupp football player.
He's a system wide receiver. That's all I'm hearing right now.
What I will say, Tutu, I know you will listen to this podcast as well. I was doing the WAP when you scored that touchdown in the playoffs.
Did you guys took him in the second round?
Dude, yeah, we took the second round over like everybody. Like literally.
I don't want to talk about our draft pick failures.
Amon-Ra went into the 4th. I remember that.
That's what I was pissed about. It's because Amon-Ra would have been a hometown guy, SC guy, and we pick up the guy that's 130 pounds, and because he's getting the lazy Tyreek, whatever. You win some, lose some. For every 2-2, there's a Puka. So
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say I mean, how mad can you be? Like you got Kobe Turner.
You can be pretty mad.
The 6th round or something, 3rd round.
Yeah. Like
team does that, but some are worse than others.
Yeah. I just don't understand how a team is able to make up for early round blunders just by drafting late. Like that's a wild thing to be able to do.
Yeah,
it is
just
insane.
Simply drafting good players. Who would have thought?
Yeah, honestly. I think I told you this the other day, Colin, when we were talking about it, but like honestly, I do respect Snead and McVay of just like they just take their guy that they like. They don't really listen to who's like, oh, this guy should be going here, blah blah blah. It's like I think that video of Kobe Turner came out and Snead was just like, no, like I need him on my roster now, And it's like, I mean, they've won a Super Bowl from it. They've been a really good, successful franchise, and that'll come with some misses, but also you end up with some really good players. So
The superior LA franchise, some would say.
That's a fact.
They are.
The Lions and the Rams do a lot of things similarly, and that is what I've seen the Lions do. Is like, dude, Gibbs at what was it, 12? Was it 12?
Yeah.
Gibbs at 12 was just stupidity in my mind.
Especially like, giving Montgomery a big deal.
Yeah, but they got their guy and it worked and they went to the NFC Championship. Like, that's awesome. And I am just literally irrationally confident in anybody that they draft now at this point, because we had,
including Stetson Bennett.
Never mind. No, even like, I hated that pick. You guys know from the moment that it happened, I was pissed. But
we were together when you picked him, and I've never seen you so upset.
It was like what was he, a third rounder, fourth rounder?
It was fourth
he was late.
you were livid.
Yeah, he was a fourth round pick, and I was literally screaming in a restaurant, I think. But yeah, I mean,
you guys, this is such a sidetrack. But when I was driving up to Phoenix, and you guys tried to convince me we took that Xavier Valade from ASU in like the first round, and I was like,
what? I wanted you to be so mad. They were, but it was good. But they're like when we pick somebody that's just like nobody, like I have no idea who this person is, and they played at North Southern State University Tech, and I'm like, all right, I guess they're a Pro Bowler. So, like,
oh, that's awesome.
That's hilarious.
That's fun. But no, I'm pumped, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You guys got anything else in the sports world?
No, go Rams.
Oh, I got one more. Dude, Fernando Tatis Jr., electric.
Oh, here we go.
I love him. I just needed to say this. Down 8-0. Took the lead with a 2-run home run in the 8th. Won the game in the 9th. This team, Beach.
You're back.
I'm back.
You're
man.
so back.
They
have sucked you back in.
What, Kyle?
So can I contribute something to the baseball conversation,
Please.
Actually, because before we leave? I was golfing, Bryce and I were golfing, and we played with this kid who was like 18 or 19 years old, but he was a minor league pitcher for the Chicago White Sox. His name's Christian Opper. Nice kid.
Good.
And he bought me peanut butter crackers, so I'm hoping that he's going to be an all-star.
Dude, Christian Opper, White Sox legend. That's good. They need all the help they can get, man, so maybe Opper will help them out.
That is wild.
He said that he hated it there, so.
No.
I hate it too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I told him I'd make some
we're pulling for you, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Poor guy.
Well, I'm pumped. I'm gonna go watch the Padre game once we're off of here. So, anyway, you can look for more about us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X. That's Bingo Pod. So, we'll see you later.
Love you. Bye.
Peace.